Hello and welcome to the program. Network Africa begins now in South Sudan, where talks between the two sides of the conflict that were meant to happen today have been postponed for 2 days. According to the UN-owned radio station, the postponement comes a week before they're due to form a coalition government on November 12 following a peace deal. Although no reason is given for the postponement, International Crisis Group ICR warns in a report that the two warring parties are not ready to work together. It predicts that President Salva Kiir is hitting at assembling a government without opposition leader Riek Machar. If this prediction does come true, it goes against the power-sharing deal that they both agreed in 2018, August, which said Mr. Machar would return to government as one of the 5 vice presidents. Tens of thousands of people have been killed in the conflict, which broke out in 2013 after a power struggle between Mr. Kiir and Mr. Machar. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has made major changes to his cabinet and security establishment, appointing a new army chief and dropping a minister who has not been seen in public for months. Major General Jean Bosco Kazura has been promoted to a 4-star general and appointed the Chief of Defense Staff, taking over General Patrick Nyavumba, who is now the new Minister of Internal Security. General Kazura, a former head of the Football Federation who also served as commander of UN Peacekeepers mission in Mali, was until recently the head of the military college in northern Rwanda. Dr. Richard Sezibera, who was the Minister of Foreign Affairs from October 2018, has been replaced by Vincent Biruta, who was the Environment Minister. Mrs. Sezibera, a medical doctor and former Secretary General of the East African Community, has been missing in public since July when he attended the Commonwealth Foreign Affairs Ministers meeting in London. U.S. President Donald Trump has voiced support for negotiations between Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan over a giant hydroelectric dam in Ethiopia's Blue Nile. The White House says the president made this known during a conversation with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. It was Foreign Minister said last week the Trump administration had invited the 3 countries to a meeting in Washington on November 6th to try to break the deadlock in the talks. Now, Egypt fears the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam could restrict already scarce supplies of water from the Nile, on which it is almost entirely dependent. Ethiopia says the dam is crucial to its economic development. 2 people have been killed in Guinea as protesters and police clash during a funeral procession for those killed in earlier protests over suspected efforts by President Alpha Conde to extend his mandate. The West African country has been rocked by demonstrations organized by a coalition of politicians and activists opposed to a constitutional change that could let 81-year-old Mr. Conde seek a 3rd term. Police used tear gas, batons and hot water cannons when violence broke out during the procession in the capital Conakry to mark the burial of 11 people killed during protests in October. Pirates off the coast of Togo have kidnapped 4 crew members from a Greek oil tanker just days after similar kidnapping in the waters of neighboring Benin. The Togolese Navy said that armed attackers boarded the Elka Aristotle near the port of Lome after shooting and wounded the ship's security guard. Those abducted include Greek, Georgian and Filipino nationals. The ship's operator says the rest of the crew and the ship itself are safe and they're working to ensure the prompt release of their employees. West Africa's Gulf of Guinea is seen as a high-risk area for hostage-taking, usually for ransom. On Saturday, 9 crew members were abducted from a Norwegian-flagged cargo ship 15 kilometers off the coast of Benin. We're in North Africa now, as nearly 7 months after veteran commander Khalifa Haftar launched an offensive against the Libyan capital. The fighting has produced a surge in foreign support on both sides, a few major incursions. It has locked up the country that is split between rival camps for 5 years into deeper polarization.
On the outskirts of Tripoli, days of silence are broken by bursts of heavy artillery fire. Fighters camped out for weeks in abandoned houses watch for movement on enemy lines. The nervy ebb and flow of battle shows little sign of a breakthrough. Leaders on both sides appear to be ruling out compromise. For those in Tripoli, that means Haftar withdrawing to the east before any ceasefire.
We hope this war ends today. But the political leadership clarified that for talks on a ceasefire to happen, the invader should return to where he came from. This is clear.
Haftar has said he is willing to seek a political solution, but only once the capital is rid of the armed groups that provide the Tripoli government with its core support, effectively ruling out dialogue. Life in central Tripoli continues largely as before, but scores of civilians have been killed and maimed as both sides have tried to pick off targets in residential areas. Wary of foreign meddling, many Libyans have lost hope the conflict can be resolved internally. The path to political negotiations is unclear.
Back here in Nigeria, a section of the popular Balogun market in Lagos has been gutted by fire. The building sits between two streets, that is Marina and Sunny Adewale Street on Lagos Island. Those who were there said the fire started early this morning after traders resumed for the day's business. Although the cause of the inferno is still unknown, Channels Television gathered that property worth millions of naira were destroyed. Now, another building is said to be on fire at Dosumu Street, housing different offices.
When we got in here, we encountered some challenges. And one of the major challenges that we encounter is the accessibility to the source of the fire. And which means the way the shops were built, they are built in such a way that we cannot easily move our fire truck to the scene. However, we are able to surmount it, we are able to localize the fire, we are able to curtail it. Another challenge is that what they have inside their shops, some of them put in generators, some of them store in petrol, some of them store in inflammable and hazardous substances. But however, we are able to surmount that again. We are working with the combined team. And don't forget that we have 2 fire incidents in the same locality, in the same location. We have one at Oluwole, we have another one at Dosumu, which involved multi-story building. We are able to be on top of it. We are appealing to the citizens of the state that they should remain cool, calm, and collected, that we are doing our best. We are able to curtail the fire from spreading. We are able to localize the fire, and we are now putting off the fire. In a short time now, the fire will be off.
Meanwhile, police have uncovered yet another illegal rehabilitation camp in Oyo State, where no fewer than 259 people are being detained under unhealthy conditions. Operators of the facility, located at Olure area along the Ibadan-Lagos Expressway at Ojo, claim it's a correctional center for delinquents. But the Oyo State Police Commissioner, Shino Olukolu, frowned on the deplorable condition of some of the inmates, promising to bring the perpetrators to justice.
The converging crowd calls immediate attention to this area. It's obvious that all is not well. The heavy presence of police says it all. It's yet another illegal detention center in Ojo area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. From the windows, you could see inmates begging for freedom, which they have probably longed for several years. First, the police ensure their evacuation from the facility. The number is shocking to everyone. Boys and girls of different age grades, adult men and women, even minors are not spared. But what is more shocking is the glaring signs of malnourishment written all over them. Their parents and guardians had brought them here for rehabilitation and teachings in Quranic recitation. And if the owner of the center so desires, he puts the young women there in the family way, a decision which some of the younger ladies do not object to.
I don't know what to say, but it's because me, I'm not hearing. That's why my parents brings me here. That's why they brought me here. Me, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with what they are giving me because they are not beating us.
The police forcefully opened some of the doors, and then the filthy environment where the so-called rehabilitation is done is revealed. Outside the building is also a graveyard. The tombs there rightly stir up curiosity, but the inmates have stories to tell.
I used 1.5 years in there, and with that 1.5 years is being held. They use the name of Islam and the name of God to extort people. They will beat you and humiliate you. They take hose pipe to beat you 500, 200 stroke of the cane to spoil you, to try to downgrade and also submerge you under their black power.
The Oyo State Police Commissioner says 5 arrests have been made so far, even as investigations continue.
They were being maltreated, they are not being well fed, they are being treated like slaves, and they are engaged in forced labor. And sometimes their death is not reported to anybody.
Oyo State government officials are also here with the Commissioner for Women Affairs, intimating everyone that she has the directive to take in those that have been liberated.
I know it's a very pathetic issue. We cannot preempt anything now, but we are going to take care of the situation. That's what I can. Adequate care will be taken to rescue these children as you are seeing them.
And then they file into this truck, happy to regain their freedom. The government intervention may be a temporary sign of hope for them, but there are bigger questions begging for answers, particularly the issue of proper parenting and government efforts to fully clamp down on these illegal rehabilitation facilities and bringing the operators to justice.
Farmers and fishermen in Jigawa State, still in Nigeria, have raised an alarm over the threat caused by a type of grass which they say has impeded the free flow of water, flood water that is, causing their farmlands to be waterlogged. Many of those affected are in Guri local government area, about 100 kilometers away from the state capital. The special advisor to the Jigawa State Governor on Community Development, Mr. Hamza Hadija, insists there is need for the federal government to intervene.
In the northeastern part of Jigawa State along the river Hadija, which flows into Lake Chad, farming and fishing is hindered as typhus spreads through, taking the space. Guri local government area, about 100 kilometers away from the state capital Duse, is the worst hit. The people in this locality are mostly farmers who cultivate chili, onion and cotton. Aside battling with herdsmen over space, irrigation has become tough and in the rainy season.
To be honest with you, we are finding it very difficult to cultivate our farmland because of this grass. Some of the challenges we face include flooding during the rainy season, and the grass harbors pests that spread to our crops.
Our parents depended on this fishing to fend for our families. In a single day, we can get what we can sustain you for a week. But now, with the coming of this typha grass, we cannot survive as fishermen around this river.
The chairman of the Farmers Association of Nigeria in Jigawa State, Mayor Ngwa Jaga, proposes a solution to the problem.
What we need federal government to do for the farmers of Jigawa State, through Federal Ministry of Water Resources, to find the way to defeat this river from Tigadam to Wudil to Ringing to Hadeja up to Yobe. When they defeat this river to flood all these tapa grasses, no any flood in Jigawa State.
Meanwhile, the special advisor to the Jigawa State Governor on Community Development, Mr. Hamzat Adejia insists there is need for the federal government to intervene.
We are requesting the support or intervention from the federal government. The government of Jigawa state it is doing its best in doing machine work to embank where possible the machine can have easy access to do the work. Where the machine can get access to work, it will work. Where the machine cannot have the access to the work, so that we can mobilize the communities, give them all possible support and logistics to run the manual work in order to address this menace.
While the farmers and the fishermen continue their activities in tough conditions, they hope their source of livelihood is not lost with a further delay in intervention from the government.